So I've done a little over $18 million, 100% low ticket, charging $75 a month or less on Discord. All started because I sent somebody a cold DM on Twitter. The guy who at the time ran the biggest reselling Discord was like, hey, this is cool. Would you be interested in like providing this info for us? I pulled the craziest number out of my mind. I said $3,000 a month. And I'm in there and it's blowing my mind just how much money everybody around me is making. What monthly income does nothing about your life change if you make more?
1, 2, 3, 20K a month. Yep, exactly. So it's like,
lost a relationship, lost where I was living, lost most of my income sources. And so for 2 months, I'm just like, did I make the wrong choice? Like, I'm such a loser. I am going to give myself 3 months of giving everything I have into this business. A month and a half later, my business is like 3K top line at that low point. 6 weeks in, I bring it to $8,500. I see that as like my monthly recurring revenue. To this day, I've never felt so rich in my life.
we're live.
Love it.
Dude, welcome to Miami. Love it here. Oh. Oh, yeah.
I thought that was just like an element of it.
Yeah.
I kind of liked it.
That's a vibe. We're still live, though, right? We can keep that in.
I love it.
Dude, Casey, welcome to Miami. So great to have you on the pod. This has been a long time coming, man.
Dude, glad we could make it happen in Miami. We only live 5 minutes away from each other in Texas.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of different ways we could start this off, but I think to give some context, Casey, first of all, you're an awesome entrepreneur, a man of faith. I probably should have said that part first. Awesome man of faith, entrepreneur, and a leader in our circle, in our community, and everything that we're doing. And you've done a lot for me on a personal development level since I moved to Austin, and you're a big reason as to why I moved to Austin. And so whenever I was actually down here in Miami looking for an apartment, I was 1 day away from signing a lease. And Dylan sent me the reel of y'all's house at the time and connected me directly with you. And he's like, hey, I think like something's really telling me that y'all would jive well and that you could take Casey's spot. So you were looking for someone to replace you in the compound. And one quick 15-minute call later from the skyrise in Miami, instead of going back home and just having my trajectory laid out for me here, I took a one-way to Austin and we spent 3 or 4 days together. I spent some time with the guys in the house and then moved to Austin. So you changed the trajectory of my life in a couple of different ways. So first of all, thank you for that. As we've been in Austin, we've been working out together and leveling up in a bunch of different ways. But first of all, I just want to say thank you for that.
Yeah,
thank you.
Glad you're able to be the right fit. We had a lot of people who were interested in moving in there. We had a pretty dope pad, and there were a lot of people who were interested. And kind of one of the big stipulations on me feeling comfortable kind of moving on to the next chapter somewhere else was anybody who took over there was going to live with the guys was the right fit, who was man of faith, about business, about getting better. And you made the cut immediately.
Sure thing, man. Well, I think, I'm super grateful, and I don't think it could have went any better. And so I've enjoyed it so much. But for the audience, where I think I'd like to begin is, and we haven't really dove into this on a personal level on like a long form format. So I'd love to just start with the chronological story. I know that, you didn't really think you were going to get into business. Then you did. Then you built it up slowly but surely. And now you're one of the biggest guys in the industry, or maybe the biggest guy in your industry. But let's kick it all the way back. We don't have to talk about, the day you were born, but like, let's really bring it all the way back. So where are you from? What's the origin story? Lay it out for me.
Yeah, from outside of Buffalo, New York. And yeah, just kind of going through the trajectory of almost how we got here now. I kind of always start this story in, early high school. I lived probably 30 minutes away from where I went to school. My mom worked helping doing fundraising at like a small Christian private school.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like 30 minutes from where I'm from. My first job growing up was working on a farm. And I played basketball, I played all the sports, but basketball practice was like 8 o'clock at night at high school. School let out at 3. And my mom was like, I'm not going to drive you home 30 minutes just to drive you back 30 minutes, wait out for basketball practice, drive you home 30 minutes, just figure it out. Like, do something, figure it out, do your homework. Sometimes did my homework, but most of the time what I started doing as soon as I got my permit was I would go around to every thrift store in the surrounding area, see what clothes that I could buy for, buy a Ralph Lauren shirt for $1, sell it on eBay for 20, see if I could find, college textbooks that maybe people had donated or their parents donated at the end of a semester, look them up on eBay, buy them, hold on to them till the start of the next semester. And I'm buying all the books at Goodwill are $1. And sometimes you could buy one for $1, sell it for 100 or more.
Yeah.
And so I just got my hustle on, then just find like I could flip stuff. And if I can make $500 in a month, dude, I was freaking crushing it at 15, like 500.
Yeah.
I was working out the farm for about $7 an hour cash under the table, like that sort of vibe. Like way too young. I broke every child labor law I was getting, taught me how to work though. But I compared that to I'm sweating out in a field for like 8 hours a day at 13 years old to get paid $50. Then I just go to a Goodwill for $20 and I just made $80 at a Goodwill, put up $5, sold it for 120 after fees. I'm making $80. Like, I was crushing it for a 15.
Was it like Gary Vee inspired? Were there any other things that you were trying to consider, or like what made you choose that, or was it just happenstance?
That was just the thing that I found. So my brother, he was 2.5 years older than me, he put me on game shortly thereafter. I play guitar, he plays keyboard. We were always super musical, and we discovered Craigslist at a very young age. Pause. And so we started buying musical instruments, and like I would pull the kid card as much as I could. So if there was a guitar somebody was selling for $300, I knew I could sell for $500. As soon as I like found out what Craigslist was, like, I'm a kid, I love the guitar, all I got is $200 and you work with me. Buy it for $200, flip it for $500 over and over and over again. And so I was like 14, my brother was 16. We'd drive wherever in Buffalo to meet up with grown adults. Sometimes we once met up in an abandoned grain mill at night because some dude allegedly had a recording studio there. Like we were going to some sketchy places, but like I had $200 on me that I'd saved up from a week of working on the farm. I could flip it into 500 with a 30-minute flip.
Yep.
And so that really kind of put me to the next level of, all right, I'm not just buying clothes for $10, selling them for $20. Now I can sell a guitar and make $100. And then, to kind of fast forward to that, as soon as I get into college, I found out you can do that online. I could buy a pair of sneakers that were selling for $500 for $100 off a Nike drop, or I could buy Supreme clothes, or like a bunch of hypebeast stuff. Just buy it online, sell it online. I didn't have to negotiate with anybody. I didn't have to like treasure hunt at a store. I could like actually have a repeatable pattern of this is selling for one price on one website, and I can sell it for a bunch more on eBay, Amazon, StockX, something like that. And that's when I really like dialed it up. And once again, it was still always a side hustle to me, but I went, I could make $3,000 in a month at 19 years old in college, which for me was just balling out, dude, because I was tutoring accounting for $9 an hour.
Right.
And then not sure how deep you want me to go in before cutting off, but just kind of kept scaling that up all the way through. I graduated undergrad at 19. I had my master's in finance by 21. I thought I was just going to be an investment banker. I get into asset management, and by 10 a.m. Monday morning, my first day, I had a literal legal notepad writing out all of the different things that I could do to get out of here.
Yeah.
I was like, do I want to be a songwriter? Do I want to be a professional like a professional golfer? Do I want to, what am I going to do to get out of here? Because this freaking sucks, dude. Like I worked so hard to get this job, paying me $60,000 a year, which was crushing it at 21. And this is the thing everybody told me I was doing so good at, and I hated it.
Well, okay. So if we zoom in on a few parts there, you speed ran past the fact that you graduated with a master's at 21.
Yeah.
So like, were you just gifted with the school stuff and you got really good grades and you were expediting that? Like walk me through how you condense that, because typically people get their master's at like 24,
Yeah. So to a degree, the first internet business I ever launched actually was a like course/consulting company /info product, teaching people how to like hack their way through college. I failed a couple classes in high school. I wasn't like a particularly good student, but I always tested well. So I tested really good on, like, I forget if it was the PSAT or the SAT or the ACT, whatever it was. I scored really well on that, and I got a full ride to college. And so I didn't feel like I needed to try in high school anymore. And so like I failed chem, I failed trig, all of that. And then I get to college and I find out that if you get above a 50 or a 70 or whatever it is on a bunch of gen ed like tests, you can just show up, pay $70, take the test, and boom, I don't have to take English 101 anymore. I don't have to take chemistry. I don't have to take American literature. I don't have to take all this. I can just test out of a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, I did that for Spanish. I basically just walked in and jumped to like the 501 or whatever.
Exactly. And so I would just spend 30 minutes reading the Wikipedia page for whatever I was about to test out of. And all I had to score was like a 50 or a 70. And so I would just like speed run it, try to memorize as much as I could, show up, test out of it. And instead of spending 2 years and $40,000 or whatever it is to take all those classes, you can just test out of them and actually get into your major. We can go on a whole tangent about this, but like I think gen eds in the college system is like the biggest scam ever.
Well, I was thinking
college should be a 2-year degree, like just focused. I took English in high school. I took science in high school. I shouldn't have to take history again.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that while you were saying that, it made me think about how the system is oriented in a way that rewards you for memory instead of actual competency. And so, like, we could spend a ton of time on that, but yeah, it's fundamentally broken. That's why actually, I have a lot of optimism around the high ticket space, even though there's plenty of reasons to not. And I think it's because with coaches and consultants that I work with, I'm actually working with the experts, not the college professors. Like, for example, one of my main clients right now is a career coaching guy. He helps people get a job at Google. Well, he actually made $1 million a year at Google. And so he's teaching the thing. And so, like, even the professors in the schools, like, they're not actually like doing, most of them aren't. I had a good accounting professor that was an accountant, but, anyways.
What are you going to do with a history degree?
Yeah. I mean,
you are going to go to college. You're going to get an undergrad in history. You're going to get a combined master's in history and teaching, and then you'll get a job at a high school or a college teaching history.
Yeah.
MA majors are like that.
Yeah, and like anything in the humanities, unfortunately, like I applaud whoever wants to, go and try to learn those things. But as far as like job security, like one thing I was talking with Dickie on this morning was this. Have you heard of I think it's called the turkey fallacy, or like something turkey something, and it's basically like the turkey lifestyle is you get groomed up, you get massaged, you get fed really, really well, and it's just like an up and to the right, like consistent linear trajectory, and then bam, all the way straight down. And so, unfortunately, a lot of people think that they have this uncapped downside with a normal job, but you could just lose your job overnight. And like maybe there's some security with being a professor and having tenure, but like what we're seeing now in the education or in the job market is that more people that have a college degree are actually unemployed compared to people that don't, like, or it's equal.
Yeah,
so that's
roughly 52% of people who even have college degrees and jobs don't have a job within the scope of their college degree.
Yeah, I mean,
like I have a full team. I have however many dozens of employees. I've never looked at a resume in my life. I look at past work. I look at like what have you accomplished elsewhere. I've never looked at a GPA. I never asked for a college degree. It's what have you produced in this role for somebody else or on your own.
100%. And I think with that being said, I have a degree in finance too, and it's just sitting in my parents' house, like collecting dust. And I quickly realized, even before I got a entry-level job in that field, I was waiting tables, and I was like, I'm either going Wall Street or banking, cocaine and Corvettes, or, Bank of America, corporate, whatever that is. And I was just not going to do it. And so back to where you're at, you landed the job, you're 21, 60K, whatever, but you had already been making that much or a little bit less just doing the flipping stuff, which is way cooler, especially as a young adult. Like, like you said, you started drawing pathways out. So walk me through what happens next.
Yeah. So, I was there, like I said, bachelor's in economics, master's in finance, asset management and private client side of things. And so I was, I had a team, I had managers, but I was trading and had access to managing just shy of $1 billion of client wealth at the age of 21. And a year later, I was making more money flipping PS5s and sneakers than I was getting paid at that job that I had to have a master's for, where I oversaw almost $1 billion. And so, yeah, I did for about 9 months or a year. I tried to launch that, info product, consulting course, whatever you want to call it, surrounding, hey, like I graduated debt free. I did it at 19, master's at 21, got what most people would think was a good job. And here's how you can do it, because the college system is, I don't want to call it a scam, but there's a lot of like hacks, loopholes, etc. And there's a lot of ways to like shortcut through college, really cheap, really quick. Didn't make a ton of money from that, but I learned a ton of skills that kind of like launched me with the rest of what I do now. I learned how to make a website, learned how to host a digital product, record a course, edit, like all the things that are super foundational to being able to succeed in what I didn't even know back then was called the info space. Didn't have a lot of traction. I was just making way more money flipping PlayStations, flipping sneakers, GPUs. I was crushing those because Bitcoin was on a meteoric rise. Everybody was mining it, and so people needed GPUs. Just make a lot more money flipping, because I would wake up at about 5:30 a.m. every single day. I'd go to every Target, every Walmart in the area, seeing what items I could flip. And there were a lot of days I had made $500 profit before showing up to a job for 9 hours where I was making a whole lot less than that.
Yeah, it's funny because I did a lot of the same things, but unfortunately it was in the cannabis industry illegally. I would go to the Targets and the Five Below, and I would rake all the candy. And so I would buy like the Sour Patch gummy worms and or the Sour Patch Kids and the gummy worms and the Chips Ahoy and the hot Cheetos. I would basically get the packaging for the edibles from China for like 25 cents, and then I would get the candy and like make these edibles, and like I was making a lot of profit with that. And I was also at the, like, for all the time that I was selling weed and stuff, it was always secondary to working a job. So I was working 40 hours a week, but I just knew that like 90% of my income came from this thing that I spent 20% of my time on.
Yeah.
And so very quickly I recognized the power of that type of leverage where you're putting in the inputs, and the outcome is not directly tied to how many hours, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm really big on recommending for people whether they want to get into sales, which is typically what I recommend and what I did. But for anybody to get into a vehicle where you can get paid based on your performance, or you unlock some sort of leverage. And it sounds like because of the profit that you were unlocking by doing the arbitrage move, you were just like, there's no way I can commit to some sort of formalized career.
Not even just that, but almost going to your point. Like, that's the thing I like to bring up is, think about a professional athlete. Yeah, I'm a huge Bills fan. Josh Allen makes what, $55 million a year. Does he work, even if I hate doing math in public, let's say $100,000 is average, what, 550 times harder than somebody who makes 100,000? Like, there's impossible he works that much harder. And so I think most people, especially if you are, whatever Dickie called it, the turkey method, I like the word programmed. You go through kindergarten or through whatever you want to do. If you do college or whatever, you're just taught that you're going to go to school, probably go to college, get a degree, get a good job, work hard. Somebody's going to give you a promotion, which will hopefully come with a salary and all that. And each time it's just like, oh, keep working harder, and somebody's going to hand you, like, there's just going to be a little bit bigger carrot at the end of the stick that they're dangling.
Yeah.
And I think everybody needs that one unlock moment that is like, oh, how much money I make does not have to have basically any correlation with how hard I work.
What?
Because if it did, then how come all these people can make 1,000 times more than you, 500 times more than you, even 100 times more than you, if they are, I worked on a farm, dude. That is the hardest I will ever work in my life. Like, I've made a lot of money in the info space right now. I've never worked as hard as I did when I worked on a farm for $7 an hour cash.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people have just never either had that experiential moment or have just been so, and I hate to use that term, but like programmed that it's like, oh, here's just the path that you're going on. If you want to use the term the system, it's just like, I'm going to go through however amount of schooling, I'm going to get a job that comes with a salary. I'm just going to keep working hard, and I'll keep getting paid a little bit more each year if I work harder. Yes. And that's just not, I don't want to say that's not how it works, but it's not how it has to work.
Yeah, well, I think about leverage a lot, and there's plenty of different ways to expose yourself to leverage. It could be investing capital, which is what a lot of people do once they get into real estate, is they make their money work for them, right? And people forget about media, though. People forget about human capital, where you build a team. People forget about the arbitrage, where you're just literally just doing this hand over fist method, right? And so with what I would call like permissionless media, meaning like there's no rules to Instagram, there's no rules to YouTube, TikTok, Twitter. You can just go on and post whatever the fuck you want. And I saw, that guy, I can't remember his name, but he's like a European guy, and he's always angry, and he's like making these videos, and he's like, why are you doing this? Like,
oh, the dude who, he like fakes being like some rich like trust fund European.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I just saw a clip from him last night.
I know people who know him. Super nice dude.
Yeah. I saw a clip of him where he was out of character, and he was talking about the Parmesan cheese video that he made, which is like his most viral one, where it got like 150 million views, and it took him 2 minutes to make it. And I don't know what the AdSense money looks like on Instagram, but like he made a lot of money from that video and got exposed to so much by just leveraging the platforms that we have access to. And so it's like, it's never been easier for someone, even though we're more distracted, more bombarded with things that'll keep us off the path. Like, it's still never been easier to pull some of these levers.
Dude, I don't even know if we covered this. So I've done a little over $18 million, 100% low ticket, charging $75 a month or less on Discord in however many of the past couple of years. All started because I sent somebody a cold DM on Twitter, and he hired me as a Discord mod in his DM. I'd never heard of Discord before.
Sure.
I was just like reselling stuff, and I had a sneaker flipping email newsletter that I had no idea how to monetize, but I just was putting together information for people who wanted to flip sneakers for a profit. DM'd it to a ton of people. One guy replies, he's like, let me pay you to post this in my Discord. here we are today.
Yeah. Well,
One Twitter DM.
Yeah. Well, I think funny enough, when I started working with Dickie, it was just an Instagram DM where I was like, "Yo, I'm your guy." Basically, I would like to highlight the fact that, and we can dive into the long version of it, but it sounds like you got your chops and went and got experience and got paid to learn with this guy before you built your empire, or you might have surpassed him, and you can tell me the story. But like, yeah, what happens next after you DM him and start working with him?
Yeah. So long story short, or maybe long story long, I was mainly flipping sneakers, collectibles, everything like that. And I was kind of having like scrounge, like, where am I going to go? What sneakers are releasing I could flip? And this was back 2020, 2021, like the height of hypebeast culture, probably. Like Off-White was popping, Fear of God. Every Jordan's release you could buy for like $180 and sell for like $700. That was, stimmy checks were hitting. Everybody's staying home. Everybody's flexing on the internet. Like golden era.
Good times.
Yeah, dude, it was nice. But there wasn't, to the best of my knowledge, there were probably a million. I just didn't know about them. One just place I could go to be like, what is dropping tomorrow? Where can I buy it? How much can I sell it for? And so I made that an email.
Forum.
Yeah, pretty much. Except I made an email newsletter. I created a website in Card, which is like the cheapest website builder ever. Connected it to ConvertKit.
It's like $1.
Yeah, exactly. And every single day I would just find all the releases, put all of the links together, and then whoever signed up to my email newsletter was completely free, would just get, hey, here's tomorrow's drops. Here's ever you can buy them, here's ever you can flip them. And I charged $9 a month if you wanted access to like, hey, there's also like raffles going on for these. I'll send you the entire raffle list. Made no money for like 3 months. And I didn't miss a day. If I went to a party that night, I could get home at 2 a.m. and I was not going to bed until I did all of this and queued up the email to go out at 8 a.m. the next morning. I start DMing people in the reselling space. Like, hey, I built this thing. Do you want to check it out? Maybe it'd be cool. The guy who at the time, to the best of my knowledge, ran the biggest reselling Discord, which I'd never even heard of before, was like, hey, this is cool. Would you be interested in like providing this info for us? And I said, sure. And he said, cool, how much do you want? And I pulled the craziest number out of my mind. And I don't know why I said this, but I said $3,000 a month. This is somebody I would probably pay like $200 a month for right now running the business, maybe $300 a month. He said, sure, which immediate lesson there is I always ask for like way too much from everybody when it comes to a contract. And so he said, sure. And I'm like, cool, I can now quit my job. So $3,000 a month contract just to post sneaker flipping info in this Discord server. And I'm in there and it's blowing my mind just how much money everybody around me is making. Because I hadn't been exposed to the entire world. I was kind of in my lane. It's like, there's like 1,000 people in here and they're selling not used, but like discontinued shampoo for $80 a bottle. They're going to Home Depot and they're finding flooring for literally like 3 cents. I thought that was fake. I thought that was a thing people just post on the internet as clickbait. This is like real. I'm seeing everybody make the money with it. Then I joined some competitors and I see them doing other stuff.
Joined in what way?
Like I joined the Discord of apparently.
You paid for the community.
Yeah, I paid to join other communities in this space. I'm like, oh, everybody's just making a ton of money doing this, but like nobody's doing it my way. And a little bit of time goes on. I'm like, hey, like I think I understand how these are all operating. I think I can do mine. I don't even say better. I think I can do it differently. And so I launched my own thing.
Different is actually better than better.
Sometimes.
As far as a category wise, like even if you're different, like you can still just win.
Yeah, you can carve out a niche. And so I did. And I think like one thing to highlight is I made like no money for 2 or 3 years other than that $3,000 contract, but kind of just started figuring it out on my own. And I quit my job, back to the wall, lose that contract, business craters in half. Right around the time I decided to move to Austin. And so like one of the lowest points of my life was I'd quit my job, lost that contract, business fell in half. I was bringing in from the actual like community itself about $2,500, $3,000 top line revenue before all
from
of
your own community. No more contract.
Correct. At the time I decided to like go all in on this.
Sure.
I moved to Austin, Texas. I was going to set up my life there. I was bringing in pretty good money from this contract. My own community was bringing in maybe $5,000-$6,000 a month. And I was still doing my own reselling. Most of that goes away. I was still doing my own reselling, but it fell off a little bit, lost the contract, quit the job. Business fell in half, like $2,500 to $3,000 top line revenue, and moved to Austin. I spent like 2 months just being like, dude, like screw up my life. Like I'd quit a
Sure.
job everybody told me was really good to go do a thing nobody in my life even
So,
understood.
real quick, so how old are you at this point now that you're in Austin and you're at the low point?
23. I
And
just turned 23.
okay. And so when you were on Twitter and you were doing the DM thing, were there people that you took notice of that were inspiring to you, or like what kind of pathway did you move more into the online space with? Because I know you said you found the Discord stuff and it was like a eye-opening moment, but were there any people that you were watching or listening to
Oh, big time.
that were inspiring you and kind of planting those seeds?
So yes and no, in the sense of I learned so much about reselling from these people that I looked up to. The guy who ran that company, his name's Joe Hart. His company was called Products for Profit. He's like the reason that I exist here. Incredible guy, great person. Joseph Oliver is the name of his the guy who ran the community kind of underneath him. He's the one who replied to my DM, set me up in there. These were the sorts of guys that I was like following, getting paid to learn from about reselling. But I wasn't learning from anybody about info, how to run the actual like Discord, how to run the community.
Right.
Like I was learning a lot more about, cool, here's how I can add more value talking about flipping stuff on Amazon and eBay. But I was flying so blind other than just seeing what other people were doing for actually running an info product.
Were you listening to like the garage sale? Like this is so like Gary V coded. Like was that like, were you paying any attention to that?
No, I really didn't know who Gary Vee was for a little while. He's the one who kind of like helped get one of my business partners their start. He's put so many people onto flipping, but I was just testing a bunch of stuff, figuring it out. And like same thing now where I'm so happy that I lived in Ohio at the time this was happening, moved back home to Buffalo. And like, I wasn't following these like influencers or gurus. Because the idea that I could have been 23 making 20K a month was insane to me. And now it's like everybody just has the Lambo, the penthouse, whatever at 22. But I just wasn't consuming content like that. That didn't seem possible to me. I remember I got hired by a community that was probably bringing in like $40,000 a month. And that was unfathomable to me. Like,
Yeah.
oh my word. This dude's business top line before all expenses bring in 40K a month. Like, what would that be like? Could you imagine?
And so okay. So you're shifting all these beliefs, I'm sure, and you're moving to Austin, you have the low point. But when you're starting to notice these like, 500,000 top line folks, what is like your inner dialogue when you're waking up? Are you just like excited to be a part of the thing? Are you anxious because there's so many people do it and you feel like you're behind because you might be comparing? Like what's going on up here while you're starting to be exposed to all this new money ideas and everything that you're seeing?
I didn't realize how much money there was in my space until I started making it, which I'm really grateful for. I just remember I had moved down to Austin at a time where, like I said, my business cratered. I moved down to Austin like a week after I went through a breakup.
Mm-hmm.
I had just kind of like quit / left my job. And so lost a relationship, lost where I was living, lost most of my income sources. And so for 2 months, I'm just like, did I screw up huge? Did I make the wrong choice? Like, I'm such a loser. Mm-hmm. After that 2 months or so, like it wasn't me versus like, oh, look at this person making all this money. It was just like, I'm going to give myself 3 months of giving everything I have into this business, or else I'm going to start looking for a job again.
Okay.
Like a month and a half later, and I've said this so many times, my business are like 3K top line at that low point. 6 weeks in, I bring it to $8,500. I see that as like my monthly recurring revenue. To this day, I've never felt so rich in my life.
Yeah.
I live in a penthouse. I've lived in a nice place before. I've bought supercars. I've done all of the things. I've never felt so rich as seeing my MRR go from 3K to 8,500.
Well, I think it's important to highlight, like, this is such a common theme. Like, I've done now close to 25 of these interviews, and it's pretty much virtually the same story every single time. And I had the same exact trajectory where I think it might have been going from like 8 to over 10K a month was that moment for me. Like when I had my first 10K month, it was like it was just wow. And I've been chasing that ever since, that first 10K feeling. But what did you do if we zoomed into that 6 weeks, like tell me what your day looked like.
It looked effectively, and I love sharing this, my day over the past 3 years where I went from 3K a month to now my low ticket communities are doing maybe $500,000 a month, a little bit more than that, looks basically the same. It's just had more time to compound. And so I will wake up, spend time with Jesus, and then just autistically lock in. It's just me, a computer with as few distractions as possible, ideally.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the goal, is just remove everything that isn't work so I can just do what I have to do. So I used to use sticky notes. Now I have Todoist, which is like a planner. And it's just, here's the thing I have to get done today, and just do it.
Right. And if we can dive in like more granular, like what are the actions that you're doing in that autistic lock-in mode?
So back then it was spend all day sourcing things that people could flip, posting them in the Discord, and then tweeting about it.
Mm-hmm.
All I did. Now it's a lot more managing.
Sure.
And so I have staff who's finding things that we need to flip. We have content teams who are putting stuff out. And so now it's pretty much just running it from an overview perspective is cool. What is the customer/member experience is like the big thing I've been on for the past month or so, which is our product is super, super dialed, but is the member experience, the customer journey dialed? And so I think it's just been pulling out further and further from the integral, like, here's what I have to do today, post the flips and the tweet, to, okay, now I can like think about the business. What is somebody experiencing here? And so the project life cycle just is longer, because I can find 20 flips in a day. I can't fix or improve onboarding in a week. And so just zooming out from what is the biggest bottleneck to the business right now, and how can myself and whoever's supposed to be involved solve that?
Mm-hmm. So you hit the 3, then the 8, and obviously you just kind of showed us like what it looks like. But it's interesting to hear, like, I wonder why. Well, I guess it makes sense where that $8,500 is the richest you've ever felt. I think it's because it's such a, like, getting from 0 to 6-figure run rate. It's like it's real now, and it's so much like belief shifting and just like the doubt and the uncertainty, and that never really goes away, I guess. But that first 0 to 10K run rate is just like, if you can make it there, it's not gonna get easier, but it gets simpler. Maybe. What do you think?
I love asking everybody this question, was, or at least people who have been like financially successful, is at what monthly income did not, like, when does nothing change? Like, at what monthly income does nothing about your life change if you make more?
Let's say the number that we think on 3.
1, 2, 3.
20K a month. Yep, exactly. So it's like past 20 grand a month, unless you're wanting to buy a boat or a plane, or in your case a supercar, which we can talk about. It's like you don't think about the dinner bill.
No. I
can comp the reservation or the coffee for everybody, or pay for the person behind me.
Which we need to talk about.
Which I can, I can reel that in a little bit. But like, I can be generous without having to think much about it. Yeah. And then, I think really like the money is a tool. And for the people who, I would never become the person that says like, money doesn't make you happy. Because let me tell you, I've been a rich man.
I've been a Wall Street right now.
I've been a rich man. I've been a poor man, and I grew up in, my parents were on welfare. Like, I've been broke. My family, like, we would get paid on the 1st or the 3rd of the month, and the welfare check would hit. We'd be broke 2 days later. And so, for like 25 days of the month, for a long, long time, we had nothing. And so, like, I very deeply empathize and sympathize with the person who's still like not having broke free from that moment. But like, once you get to 20K a month, like, there's still problems. There's still a ton of things that you have to go through. But you don't have to worry about the rent or the debt or the XYZ. And that is just so freeing. I think that's really why it's at a 200K plus range.
They say the best part of having money is not having to worry about money.
That's right. So, and that, like you said, it's a pretty common theme amongst all the successful people. So you start doing well. Let's dive into like how you differentiated yourself and learned from the other people. And then I know you started acquiring some of these businesses. So walk me through that.
That's pretty much how to jump to it, which is I had started a community pretty much focused on sneakers, and almost to tie a bow on that origin story of the company I got my start in was one of the first companies I acquired, actually. Mm-hmm. I built things up over a couple of years. They decided they wanted to go in another direction.
Why?
And was actually, what was that?
Why did they?
These are, online communities have notoriously short lifespans, especially at the time when I was getting my start, 2020, 2021. These weren't full operations of businesses with employees and processes. They were typically built around one main
One
person
guy.
and maybe a couple, supplemental providers, moderators, whatever you want to call it.
Is this like, because I'm in the next door world kind of with high ticket and coaching. Is it with these low ticket communities? Is it typically like the person that is the face?
Yeah.
And that's usually the not good thing.
So from a business acquisition standpoint, it's very difficult in general to get an info offer acquired. Buying and selling an info product is pretty difficult for a bunch of stuff we can get into. It's a lot tougher once your face attached, because what if you want to go sip Mai Tais on a beach and every single customer that has ever joined is joined because of your personal brand?
Mhm.
Why would I want to buy that? Because I know as soon as I buy it, people aren't going to come in anymore. That's typically how things go even to this day in info. My business isn't like that, thankfully. Like we've turned down offers to sell our company before because we have all the systems in place. But back when I was acquiring stuff, it was pretty much if the owner wanted to go in a different direction, no longer to be a part of it, the business would die off pretty quickly.
And what is the theme of the founder who's at that stage? Are they just bored? They're not a boomer?
It's tough, dude.
Okay.
It's a chat. It's a Discord. You are literally a Discord mod. You are having to run the entire business yourself, post everything, moderate things, support tickets, handle the payment processor dashboard, handle disputes, stay on top of what the competition is doing, etc. And especially back at that time, that was one person's job. And it's a grind. You are glued to your computer. You have to know life for as long as you are the only person running this company. And anybody who is sane would not want to do that for a long period of time. And so they get good amount of money. They decide that they're pretty burnt out with this, want to go in a different direction, maybe want to slim down, focus on it. And that's typically how it goes. And this is what's often happened, is if you can do that for a while, there's a lot of companies that are going to offer you good money plus equity and better work-life balance to work for them instead. Like if you can 0 to 40K a company all on your own, that's such a grind like this. Like info money is now growing. There's a lot of, WAP, fan bases. I just did something with Slash, who's, virtual banking to a degree. There's a lot of companies that have sprung up out of this infrastructure who are doing things like bigger and better than just info, whose favorite people to hire are the people who like 0 to 1 stuff like this.
Well, it's funny because I think about it, like the offer that I'm managing, we're doing north of 500K a month and closer to 4, but it's fucking startup land all day, fires burning, everything's melting, and luckily we have a really, really good fulfillment and we're producing really great results, but like the infrastructure and just like juggling it's all just like
now imagine it was you and
spinning
3 VAs. How long would you want to deal with that business for? So that's who I was acquiring. Not always, but like that's just why acquisitions were viable, and a bunch of people just were pretty burnt out. And so almost the way it differentiated at first was, I'm not saying I invented acquiring info products, but I didn't know anybody who did it with Discord communities until I started doing it. And we would just kind of like looked up one day and respectively had lapped all of our competition through acquisitions and organic growth. Because like the thing people don't realize is you're not just buying other Discord groups and like boom, dump your members into your thing and cool, everything's great. Like the biggest asset you're acquiring is talent. Because like think about how stupid of a field this is. I'm trying to, like, all of my competitors know how to bring people in that will pay $75 a month to be part of a group chat. That's like an insane thing to ask somebody to do to a degree. And everybody I'm acquiring was able to successfully do that. How many people can I go hire from a college who are going to be able to effectively pull that off?
I understand what you're saying. So when you're saying you're acquiring them, is it seller finance where they stay on for a year and they help you kind of pass the torch? Like walk me through how it actually shapes out whenever you buy.
We've had different structures, different people we've acquired, but one of the big things is in most instances, people that we acquire, the initial owners, are still part of our team in some capacity. And that's super integral to us. We're not just trying to buy you and kick you to the curb and just take your stripe, because everybody's going to leave. They're not going to like that. And more importantly, the best people we can hire are people who are able to successfully compete with us. And so for us, from a talent perspective, like, why would any of our competition be able to beat us if we've acquired 5 competitors and now that entire owner board are the ones making decisions to grow us? Like, who's going to be able to keep up with that? And like, just, I'll talk our game. That's what's happened. Like, we've more or less lapped the competition because we have the biggest, best team.
And in the beginning, before you started picking up and actually buying these and like eating them effectively without putting a negative connotation on it, were you the one that was worried about the competition? Because it sounds like you kind of just put your head down and you we're just like relentlessly focused on a couple things that were drivers of the business?
I just wanted to make enough to have like a decent lifestyle business at first. And so you can do that once again, like you said, on $20K a month. And so it didn't really matter to me what other people were doing. And then you kind of hit that clip like you see a lot of people do. And at a certain point when I'd surpassed that, I just wanted to win, dude. Like there were, especially at that time, I used and still use WAP. They're like leaderboards for like who's making the most money and everything. It's like, cool, I was making a good life, but like, do I just want to run a Discord, make some money, whatever? Like, first off, like I think a lot of people use this as, I think it's not real to a lot of people, but we have flooded success. Like, this can change people's lives. It changed my life. Like, I was working a job I hated. I discovered selling stuff on Amazon and eBay. It changed my life. And so the more I scale this, the more people I can put onto that. And then secondly, like just from a more selfish perspective, now you're about making more money. It's like, why am I going to do this if I'm not going to not only win, but just crush everybody? And so I think that's really just still what motivates me to this day is like, I don't want to be number one. I want to be number only. Like, why do we still have competitors?
Right.
I don't want that to be true a year from now.
I think that paired with what you said before is a dangerous combo in a great way because, and I can expand on this for a second, like in my space, like you said, you're not really doing the transformational coaching as much as you are the access to the alpha that allows someone to do the arbitrage, but it's virtually the same thing. Like you're giving people the info or the accountability or a little bit of both to make a trajectory change in their life. And so when I got into this space, at first I built a construction company and then decided I didn't like things. I liked people and, didn't want to sit on a roof all day. And I got into this space. I was like, what the fuck? Like I can get paid. And I was just representing someone who already had a established offer and selling it for them, which is what my superpower really is. But I fell in love with the idea of transformational coaching.
No.
And like you said, if you can buy into the impact and you actually care about product, which is not that hard, by the way, and it's actually the way to win. A lot of people do this sales and marketing and then forget the backside. But if I can get paid to change people's lives, run it up. And so that's what I've been using as a North Star for me. Like I want to create a high integrity program or I want to represent one and I want to help people make that type of transformation. And so you pair that then with a maniacal desire to not just win, but to eliminate the competition, which is, you see that theme in a lot of the big players, like Hormozi's it's like the one of zero, it's like the one of only. I've tapped into that for a few seasons of my life. And this last year I cashed in on a little bit of my leverage and my goodwill that I had built up for myself and, moved around a little bit. But like going into next year, like I'm coming for everything. And I'm excited to dive into eventually like what happens next year for you. But you start just climbing the leaderboards. Yeah. Walk me through you're saying you're on the WAP leaderboard and you're not number one. Like at what point did it really become not just about doing the lifestyle business, but about just wiping the floor? Like what time period was that?
This would have been 2.5 years or so ago. I had somebody cancel my community, which even to this day, like we are adding tons of people every day. Every time somebody cancels, I look at that feedback. Like I want to know why. And one of them was like, hey, I found this place that's like better for what I'm doing. Cause like we cover sneakers, we cover Amazon stuff, eBay. And I'm like, what's up with them? So I go like peep this other place. I start chatting with the other owner of that community that somebody like left me for that I'd never heard of before. I'm like, yo, what's going on here? And we like started the conversation. It's like, yo, tell me what you're doing here. Cause like I just had a dude leave for you. And he's like, I've had people leave for you before. I'm like, where are you getting your customers from? And all of his were like TikTok, all of his were Instagram. Like all of mine are on Twitter. Like, what are you covering? And I'm like, I talk a lot of like sneakers and Amazon. He's like, I talk about like collectibles and eBay. So it's like together and like just start vibing with this guy. And his name's Vince. Less than a month later, we had decided to merge companies, sign the paperwork and decide to like, we just run the whole thing together.
What were some of the characteristics, traits, or maybe it was just vibes? Like, what were some of those green flag indicators that made you decide to partner with him on such short notice?
Product was so good. Like, they were doing stuff, and hopefully they could say the same about me as well. But they were just approaching from a different angle than I was. And when I say they, it's Vince and Noah. Those were the two guys who ran the company, both at that time, and now they're my partners. they were just approaching it from a different angle, finding stuff I wasn't able to find, using sourcing methods that were more advanced than what I was doing. And trust. That's the other one. Like, info is pretty shady some of the time.
Yep.
And like, that's the thing I love about a low ticket monthly recurring product is like, if you want to say something is a scam and they're charging $10K one time for it, cool. Like, it might be harder because maybe they're good at marketing. I sell a thing that has thousands of people renewing every single month. If you try to do that and your thing is either fake or terrible, you're gonna die really, really quickly because just nobody's gonna keep paying month over month. And so these guys have been super established and just could tell, talking with him, just like similar values, super trustworthy. There wasn't any, even the marketing, like it's super easy to be super clickbaity, stuff like that. When you see people's personal brands, because they hack to grow, that wasn't them. It was just high trust. Talk to Vince. I'd already known Noah. And it's like, these are the guys that I'm on the same page with that we could just like build an empire with. Mm-hmm. And I think it was that moment that we were like, cool, we already just, you combine a company, you immediately just see like a double up of your revenue. It's like, oh, like talk about the leaderboards. Like, all right, we're up here now. Let's like go for it.
Where are you at? If you're open to sharing, like where were you at personally?
I was probably top line revenue was between 35 and 40K a month. I was probably keeping high 20s of that.
Okay. So rough, 50% margins, close to $500,000. And they were doing about the same?
Yep. Something like that.
And so you kind of...
I want to say they were bringing a little bit more than me, but margins weren't quite. They had a bigger and better team than me. So
sure. Well, it's interesting, man. Like, I think that I remember early on in my business career like learning about business, there was a story about how Ben and Jerry were like, really great partnership, but then they had a falling out, and like how partnerships are like, you should probably try to stay away from it. And so I think like not a lot of partnerships can actually go the way that you want them to, but the most magical, like Dickie and Cole, like his business partner, like they're so complementary. It's nuts. And like, it's interesting to see how like whenever you can get some real high quality A players on the same exact mission, it's going to be hard to compete because it's like the funnest thing too with business where you're just playing with competent A+ individuals, like not B players, people that you want to wake up and impress because they are impressive too. So you guys do that in what time is this? Like year, month?
This is like 2.5 years ago. But yeah, it's just A player like across the board. And even to that point, like I think that's what's got us winning so well is we were especially the first people in our industry to do something like that. Nobody had done it up to that point because you get people who are making a good amount of money, did it pretty quick on the internet. Like there's egos involved. And like, how am I ever going to like partner with someone to share? It's going to fall apart quickly. And for us, it's always just been, I could not have asked. I don't want to know what things would look like if we didn't make that move. And like they say the same thing over here, which is like, if we didn't make that move 2.5 years ago, I don't know the business that I would have. Because the partnership has just been what's allowed us to do what we do now.
Sure. So you guys partner up. Obviously, your revenue goes to close to north of, if not $1 million, right there. What happens next?
Just the rampage. It's been even now just the rocky training scene.
Yeah.
Because acquisitions were a thing, organic is a thing, and then even when I kind of tell people what I do, like everybody knows me for my main group called like Divine. That's the big reselling group. The parent company of everything I do is called Discord Launch. We own and operate a handful of communities across niches and stuff like that. Divine's just the only one that I'm public about in terms of like I'll name names, I'll talk about revenue figures, stuff like that. But it's a full private equity firm helping invest, start, and scale Discord communities effectively, paid ones. And so it's just been expanding the team, expanding everything that we do, and like really turning this from a good lifestyle business for a couple of people and do like a full operation that brings in, millions and $1 million. So per year, we're doing multi-100 million impressions every single month across all of our pages on all of our social medias. Like it's just been 2.5 years of just every day, just locking in and expanding.
Mm-hmm. I think at this point would be a good time to like incorporate your faith and like how that plays a role. And like one thing that I've benefited a lot from with you is like seeing someone at your caliber like continue to just like put God first has been super inspiring for me. And like one of my goals going into this year was to like get into the Word and just I felt the tug of business becoming my top of my hierarchy. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I don't want this to happen. So like how does your faith incorporate? And I'm sure we can go to a million different angles with this, but like, how does your faith go into all of this? And I know you said you're big on like starting the day with it, but like, just if I just give you that, like, where do you go with that?
Yeah, so I'll talk about what it looks like time-wise and then just like integrating within business. I think one of the things, and like admittedly, dude, I've been bad about it this past week because I've been traveling. Traveling makes it really bad for me always spending time in the Word, makes it bad for my diet, makes it bad for gym. And so I think one of the things I'm looking forward to hopefully in 2026 is just, I already have a bunch of travel lined up, but being more disciplined during that and then trying to cut back where I can. But ideally when I'm back in the routine in Austin, it's just wake up, get some sunlight movement. And then I actually recently started doing Bible study using ChatGPT. And I have a prompt that I send a bunch of people, which is, hey, walk me through this chapter and like give it a bunch of guidelines where it's like, don't just tell me what's going on. Like ask me questions, make sure that I'm incorporating this into my life. You have the context of everything going on because I've uploaded so much into you. Like use this in a way that's going to speak into every aspect of my life so that I'm not only just like learning stuff in my head, but listening to like love and obey Jesus more. And that's been super good because I think it's been so easy to previously just like read something in one ear, out the other, on with my day. And so actually spending time to a degree where it hurts because my time's valuable, your time's valuable. And if I'm like having to spend 30 minutes in this, 45 minutes, even like going back and forth, the ChatGPT, in the Bible, I could be using that time to make money. I'm pretty good at that on the internet, as are you. And so the fact that I'm purposely giving that up to like invest in here is something.
Well, you want to do it efficiently.
Exactly.
Right? And I think like there's no world where like same thing, even whether you're a systems thinker or front end, back end, like if you have this itch or whatever we have, you're going to feel the pain of something being suboptimal. Right.
Exactly.
And I think like I did a Bible study with Tristan Steckler the other day, and it was like on Luke 15. And, we were going through the scripture and we had a roundtable thing for closers and like, young guys in sales, like roundtable. And I was just looking at the verse and I sent it over to ChatGPT and I told everybody, I was like, hey, I'm pulling this from AI, so I'm not like thinking of these ideas, but like, man, it's such a good tool to get into the word. So like, you're doing that, you're becoming more effective at it, not just pacing through, because I can kind of do the same thing. Like I have this app that Luke invented called Bible Break.
Yeah.
And it basically forces you to go onto the Bible and click a verse to get 1 minute of screen time. And so like,
I love that.
I'm up to like 200 verses a day because of how much I'm on my phone, which is cool. But I can start to feel like the monotony of like going over it, and then I'll just click and then I'll go right back to Instagram. And so I'm trying to really check myself on the fact that like, am I actually producing fruitful progress here, or is it just a checkbox thing?
And big tangent, but like, what is love if it's not just the person or thing that you enjoy wasting resources on?
Yeah.
Like even think about examples in the Bible of like Mary wasting, what was it, a year's wage of perfume, like anointing Jesus' feet. Like what is Sabbath? Is you kind of punting a day where you can't progress anywhere.
Yep.
Like, what is prayer? Like from the outside looking in, it is you spend like talking in your head, thinking that it's God, which obviously we believe it is, and taking up the time to do that. And or like devotions is you reading a book you think is God's word at the expense of not only that time, but cool, now I'm going to align my life to be to some degree restrictive of the way that I'm now going to behave because I think this is in accordance with how I should be. And I think from the outside looking in, it is just a bunch of you being willing to waste or give up efficiency for the sake of like being closer to God.
Yeah. And I think like to piggyback on top of that and maybe reframe it a little bit, like it's not a waste as long as you have faith that the investment will be worth it. Meaning like you've given yourself to Jesus and you've actually accepted like salvation and you are betting on, that we're going to live in eternally. So it's like, it's a bet, right? Instead of a waste. And I think, but to your point though, it's like, it's tricky business, man. Cause we got places to go, but I'm trying not to get lost in the worldly stuff. Going into this next year, I'd love to hear about kind of what's top of mind for you, being that this is literally the last day of 2025 and I'm so glad we did this because we'll never have a chance to like do anything more this year. Like, what have you learned this year? I mean, obviously you did the merger, you started climbing, rocky cut scene for the last 2 years, grind, scale. But like, what's top of mind for you? And I'm not sure if you've had any time to reflect, but
work-wise, bro, I'm just keep getting confronted with what an awful manager I am. Like, I am so, like, no, dude, like, I will run.
Welcome, bro.
Yeah, I'll run laps around anyone doing the work myself, going 0 to 1. But now that I have like a team of people, I'm just like constantly confronted. Like, I'm so bad at this.
Yeah. Well, I went from being an individual contributor basically to managing a team of 4, 5, 9, and then 12-ish. And I am not as good as I was as a IC. And so I'm right there with you. What is it that you think you're bad at? And we could list it off, but like, don't crush yourself. But like, is it delegation? Is it trust? Is it motivating others? Is it feeling frustrated by their lack of output? Like, is there anything specifically?
I think it's like system structure and communication, like, which are everything that goes into getting anything done by not you. Yeah, I think just realizing for us to be able to grow at the pace we want to grow at, continue the pace we want to continue at, there's a bunch of changes that we have to make, and kind of like just realizing, cool, if I decide to make the change, I need to communicate that with everybody else. If I don't get anybody's feedback on this, people are going to be like upset, and it's probably going to be suboptimal. If I get everybody's feedback, it's going to take way too long to get done. There's going to be a bunch of conflicting stuff, and we'll probably change nothing because 3 people will say we should do this, 3 people say we shouldn't change it. And so it's like almost whatever the word or phrase would be for like knowing what to give each individual situation, whether that is like conflict with a team person or like a project we're working on, is cool. Like, when do I bulldoze? When do I get consensus? When do I hand off? When do I get everybody to do something versus say you're in charge of this? And then you just realize that I have a lot to go on just the way of being able to like effectively manage a team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting for me because I'll give you an example. So I went to Asia this month, and I was out for the first time in 18 months. I brought my laptop because I couldn't cope. I couldn't do not bringing it. Some people were like, you should just completely detach. And I'm like, I am too afraid of that. But I consciously, stepped away for like 5 or 6 days of that time and had no access to Slack or email and deleted it all. And I get back into town, and one of my sales reps who was complaining about their paycheck and they were underperforming to the KPI, just like didn't do any follow-up with any of his leads for like 10 days. And like, I just wanted to do a backflip, like off a bridge. Like, I was so mad. And obviously like beating him down at the very end of the month when I need him to work twice as hard, wasn't ideal. But like, I think whenever you start to build a team and delegate and you're an A player, you can do the thing 10 out of 10, but it's worth it for you to have someone else do it 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
And that's painful. And part of it is just like standards, and then realizing like the whole entire theme of all of this is like, I could say it was his fault, this and that, but like it was actually on me for not building the right culture for him to do that, knowing that it's a non-negotiable and he should want to, keep up with XYZ. And so like,
I feel like one of the biggest things I struggle with is knowing when it's your fault and when it's my fault.
Well, there's an interesting framework. I think it was Chris Williamson who just did his end of the year reflections video, which is a banger of a video, and it had to do with the fact that like he's a big Jocko extreme ownership guy, as am I, and like that was my alarm clock for like a year. And I'm of the belief that taking extreme ownership of whatever's in front of me is just a better default.
Yeah.
Because I've lived the life of a victim before when I was super young, and that didn't play out well for me at all. And so, but the point that Chris Williamson brought up was like something along the lines of, if you think it's just always your fault, then it's actually like you're the scapegoat for everything, and it becomes less productive the more you scale that. And so, the painful realization that I've had from being a shitty manager, which I just need to be a better manager, it also made me think about how systems, SOPs, and all that is one thing, but Cole Gordon, not to jump around a lot, but Cole Gordon dropped a reflection as well, and his takeaway is that you just need to have better talent. And so talent acquisition as a manager and building some sort of pipeline for that to exist is top of mind for me going into the year. I mean, I'm sure you've got a talented team, but like, and I'm sure some of them are just rock star like blessings, but sometimes it's like, and to throw one more to close it all in, Jeff Bezos has this framework where we help people get jobs at Amazon all the time. So I'm like pretty familiar with their hiring process. And they have this thing called the bar raiser, where they don't allow someone new into the company unless they're better than the floor.
Yeah.
And so like only new hires like have to raise the bar. And that's pretty difficult, man. Like you can't just pull somebody from the Philippines and like set them up for success in that way. Or like, do you run into like, what would you say the average age of your company is from a staff perspective?
Mid late 20s.
Okay.
But we have like a pretty, like, probably our youngest is around 22, and he's one of like the highest ups that we have. And then we have people who are older as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, older in info still means like
Sure.
40s.
Right. Yeah. I think it's important to like recognize where it might not be as much, and maybe you have some thoughts on this, but for us in the high ticket sales space, like, God almighty, like the bar is on the floor. Like these people are lazy. They don't know, they don't want to work hard. They just want to just make 30 grand a month without doing much. And, that's probably one of the most frustrating things for me, in my side of the equation. But, back to the ownership piece. It's like, if you hire the talent and you tolerate the talent, like you don't get what you deserve, you get what you're willing to tolerate.
Yep.
So I think new year, new team, higher standard for everybody in my life. And you sent me a text the other day. We have a group chat with a friend, and he suggested like doing a Bible study accountability thing in the morning, and we're gonna do it. And he's an awesome guy, but the thing that you texted back was something like, look, if this is about aspiration, I'm out. Yep. Like I want consistency, and accountability is great if we're all on the same trajectory, but I'm actively removing and deleting and saying no to all the things that don't relentlessly catapult and push me forward. And the reason I bring that up is because this idea that we're kind of walking through is like, just get rid of mediocre people and like half of your problems go away.
I think most people, maybe not in the info space, and now like we're getting way too out of my realm of competency, so just personal experience and things I've observed, just tolerate way too much and way too many people, and your life would probably be way better if you removed half the people from your life and then also maybe moved. Like I think your life would get infinitely better if you just went to a new city and kind of didn't text back majority of the people who are currently in your life and just saw how it played out for 18 months.
Where would you rate yourself on?
10.
And I have a number, but where would you personally rate yourself on agreeableness? Meaning like say yes versus say no. Like most men like are like the 90% of people that are in jail are men because they rank highest on disagreeability. But for me personally, I'm like very agreeable. Yes, man. Like you kind of know this probably. I say yes to a lot of things, and then I overcommit myself, and I tolerate people, and that could lead into like being a doormat sometimes and people pleaser, and maybe that's for validation or whatever. But like personality wise, I'm pretty high in agreeableness. Like where would you put yourself?
Probably like medium low agreeableness, but high diplomacy. So like I don't think that I am off-putting unless I'm like almost trying to be, which in business is a lot of the time. Like I draw really strict boundaries around my time, around what I allow, don't allow as like a manager and people wanting me in like a business context. But I think from an interpersonal context, I'll be like nicer to people without necessarily like acquiescing. Like if you want to claim on my time or resources, I'm pretty unlikely to give it to you, especially on your terms, but I'm not going to be like a jerk about it.
Yeah, I think like the painful thing that I'm realizing is I'm really high in agreeableness. And so it's a muscle for me that I'm having to build of saying no to things and doing those, having those conflict conversations and letting teammates go and creating those boundaries. But fortunately, to get where I'm trying to go, that muscle and that skill has to be built. So that's something that's top of mind for me.
And like just, you have to let the pain be high enough. Like I've thankfully been through enough situations, either for myself or I observed it in other people, where they were too willing to live their life on other people's terms, and I saw how it turned out. I'm just not going to let that be me.
Yeah. So anything else outside of the shitty management? Like what else is top of mind for you? Like what have you learned?
I want to go on a generational content run.
Yeah. Tell me more.
I grew my business posting on Twitter. I just, for a bunch of stuff, both in my life as well as just like, cool, I want to like manage and do stuff behind the scenes and like run up processes internally. Basically took like a year off social media. And I think that I'm realizing just like the power of personal brand again. And I'm like, I need to dial it up to 11 now. And so I think those are like the main two things I'm just trying to do this year are really grow the personal brand in a way that like aligns with like my character and business purposes. I don't want an audience just for the sake of an audience, but just the doors that it gets in for being able to land more deals, partnerships, being an authority in the space. I think just being better at managing and growing the personal brand are my two biggest business goals of the year.
It's interesting. I think one of the other big threads, and we were talking about this before, like one of the other big threads for me is that too. And I'm just now actually starting to do the whole one to many when it comes to leverage as far as like putting content out on the internet. And I think I just realized, like you said, the pain was too high. Like the cost of inaction for me on going into the end of this year without having posted anything it was just so painful. Because I had already missed out on 2 or 3 years of doing really well in business where I didn't document it at all. And I've got it on my camera roll, but like I didn't ship, right? And so when I look at some of the biggest players in the sales space or in the coaching space or my, corner, the only difference between me and the best guys is that they post more content than me.
Yeah.
And like props to them. And that's why I started this podcast, because I wanted to create a collaboration mechanism where I can actually have them on and give them a platform and actually make it a win-win where it's a positive sum game. But I can tell you one thing's for sure, and this will age really well. Like by the end of next year, like I'm coming for everything on the content side. And so luckily and thankfully, and I've really, really enjoyed this podcast because it's such a, like long form has been my format that I've found to be the most natural. And this is where I like to have the most fun. I'll start to get into my own like talking head stuff and things like that. But
why didn't you ship anything in 2025?
Why didn't I?
Yeah. Like why didn't you already go on the content run?
Well, I have, effectively from July to now, I've gained a couple thousand followers and a couple million impressions. And, this is like episode 23 or whatever. And so like I've been sprinting and putting a lot of bandwidth into it.
I'll rephrase. What caused you to get over the gap of I should do this to July you started doing it?
Oh, because I saw a couple of my friends, specifically in the sales space, just make 10 times more than me. And the only difference from us, it wasn't they were better. It wasn't they got luckier with timing or opportunities. It was they
did more,
posted on the internet. Just that. Like there's other things, right? But like the big rock is that they were gaining traction by leveraging media. And I was not. I was doing one-to-one, making a lot of money, I got up to 40 grand a month without doing anything online and just shaking hands and making friends in person and behind closed doors. But like the common thread of the people that I look up to and admire, and just in general, like there's nothing more valuable than a personal brand, I don't think. Like I was talking to my buddy Breyer, who went on a generational run and like went from debt to 100K a month, like seemingly overnight, but on the back of it was a bunch of content. He was like, if you could give me 2 Bitcoins, 100,000 subscribers on YouTube or Instagram, or $1 million cash, like I would take something in the personal brand side of things. And so I don't think we have that long before it starts to get really competitive. And we've already seen, and I'm sure in your space, like in general, like there's a lot of people competing because people realize how much of an opportunity there is. And I just think outside of the people that I was paying attention to that motivated me to do it because they just shot up like seemingly out of nowhere. Outside of that, it's just like I would be doing myself a disservice if I didn't leverage these tools while they're as hot as possible.
Yeah.
So to kick it back to you, what does the content workflow look like? Because you're doing a lot, managing, etc., spend time with the Lord. Now you got a girlfriend, dating, moving around a ton. Are you just tweeting on the toilet, or like is there a strategy? Like walk me through like what you're thinking with doing your own stuff.
Yeah, Twitter's been the big one that I've like just got to have the audience there. I know how it works. I've grown from zero on there. I think the next play is just getting into long form YouTube, being the get on long form YouTube and being the subject matter expert for community building. I think what's been nice is I know people who have like gotten into that niche, who've like talked about it. Nobody that I'm aware of has done my numbers before. And so just being able to come in and be able to say like, cool, have they done, like I said, over
20 million?
Yeah, almost 20 million charging $75 a month or less. Most people haven't. And so, yeah, I think the subject matter expert's the big one, and then try to find my footing on whatever TikTok or Instagram looks like. Almost going back to the question I asked you, like I think one of my big blockers has been just both mentally myself as well as been through like some, just personal life stuff where I've seen I think I've become like hypersensitive to what is my like image on social media. Like, how could this get misconstrued?
Sure.
And I think just getting over that block and just, like you said, just pump out content. Like, you see so many people pop off from zero and build what they have because they just posted 3 times. What is that? Like 3 times per day and never missed.
Yeah.
Like, you just hear that from so many people.
So just start posting.
Yeah. And it's like, cool. 1 per week maybe is what takes off. And if you get in the nitty gritty of, all right, I'm going to post 21 things this week, 3 times 7, only one's going to post off. But like, oh, what if I come off the wrong way on one of these other 20 posts? What if somebody thinks this about me? I think it's just like almost said, like, move to a new city, get new friends. Like, if you're worried about that, you have the wrong people in your life.
Yeah. And I was just listening to Hormozy's End of the Year Reflection, which is like a 2-hour banger. And he talks about how like,
dude, how do you have the time to consume all these end of year recaps and still do what you do?
I go to sleep to it basically and just like subconsciously absorb it. So like I'll go to bed at 9 o'clock and I'll usually, funny enough, I don't think I've ever said this publicly, but for like the last 2.5 years, I've listened to the Alchemist audiobook every single night to fall asleep. And like the Arabic, people always ask me like why I have Arabic tattoos on my chest. This Arabic tattoo means it is written, and it comes from the book The Alchemist. And so like that's been a central theme of my life. But like to answer your question, I just listen to them at night. Wow. Like I fell asleep to Hormozy's End of the Year recap last night, and I'm like, I woke up and it had already been like planted in my subconscious. But anyways, he has this idea, and I only got through like 40 minutes of it. But one of the first entry ideas was that pain, what was it? I'm going to paraphrase this, but it was something like pain hides in the vague. Yeah. And what he meant was, specifically, he said like, if you're given an example of like, if you think like someone's gonna judge you because you posted something, or 1 out of the 20 pieces of content, somebody might try to cancel you for it or something, right? Like, and you know, we'll probably get clipped up somewhere and they'll take the college thing and then they'll run with that and put some sort of, you know, spin on it. But it's like, let's actually, Hormozy talks about writing it out, like actually write down with a pen and paper.
I'm afraid of
what it is.
In most instances, I'm not saying me personally, but just, like in that instance, like I'm afraid of probably somebody I can't picture a name thinking a negative thing about me.
Yeah, and it could be a person from high school, or it could be Johnny123, unknown person on Instagram saying fuck off. And it's like,
you're not going to live your life because of that.
Right. And it's like, that's what you're afraid of? Really? Or even if it's worse, like let's say your business goes under and you have to move back with your parents. Like, okay.
I already did that.
And
I had 6 months at home in Buffalo.
Right. And so it's like, once you write out like what the actual worst case scenario is going to be, and you make it less vague and less ambiguous, it's actually not that terrifying. And so I'm going to try to do that. But the no personal brand thing is, I don't have any leverage. I don't have an asset that pays me forever that I can, you know, pull from and build connections and community with, which are two of my biggest values. And that's why this is so fruitful for me. And so it's like, I won't pay the price of not having a brand anymore. Because it's like, whenever you're not making $1 million a year, or you can say 10 million, the cost of you not making $10 million a year is your income, 10 million minus your income.
Yeah.
And so it's like, people don't think about that way because we don't swipe a card for it, but that's the truth.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to seeing your generational content run, which we're starting now, and you've already posted a few bangers. With the long form, I remember we were talking at the gym, and you were like, you're like, hey, like you and Valentina invest in all these masterminds and stuff. Like, I don't really have anybody to do that with. And I was like, well, there's got to be somebody. And you're like, well, I'm kind of the biggest guy, and so therefore, you can just make the content and be the subject matter expert that people eventually come into.
So almost to like latch onto that one, I was having that conversation a day or two ago with Vince, one of my business partners, and almost complaining to a degree. I'm like, hey, we have gotten some data industry wide as to what some of our metrics look like. And I'm like pissed off and frustrated because I'm like, bro, we're doing better than everybody. And I don't like these numbers. And like almost kind of trying to like come to terms like, what does this look like? Wait, where can we learn from? Because apparently, not just revenue, but on a bunch of other relevant metrics, like we are beating all of our competition.
Is there any specific metrics that, like, if you can maybe give me an example of like something that you're unhappy with?
Trial conversion rate, which then leads into our churn rate. Monthly recurring revenue product, we offer a free trial. And so like the percentage of people who sign up for a free trial who end up paying, and then the percentage, churn is just how many people decide to keep paying or stop paying.
Yeah.
We're apparently really, really good. I want us to be way better.
Well, I think like one of the things that we were talking about another time at the gym where we just have like these consulting workout sessions, but you were talking about how like you just couldn't get off of Slack or Discord or whatever. And I was just watching you in between sets, like put out fires and answer questions, and I was like, that's doesn't seem like probably the best use of your time, you know? And you're like, I can't remember what you said. You're like, you have no idea how unorganized my business is, or something like that.
Yeah.
But the takeaway whenever you're thinking about a metric like that, and I was just talking to Dickie about this because he had consulted with some of his mentors that are like billionaires and e-commerce, you know, multi 9-figure guys and stuff, and they were sharing metrics like contribution margin, and he's like, I don't even know what that means, and then we went into a whole spiel about it, but it's like, and I think Higgins was talking about this too the other day, where he, instead of going to buy a mastermind or a coaching program, he would just pay a consultant from, you know, the big four or somewhere outside of our industries, like $1,000 for an hour or $500 for an hour, and just like see what they would say and how they would attack it. And so like, I don't know if there's a lever to pull there, but like, I think getting outside perspective from people that might be in a different industry that have similar mechanisms and models, like, would probably do you well. And so it doesn't have to be the other low ticket guy, but it could be like, there are plenty of businesses that are bigger, that are like more, what's the word I'm looking for? Just like
established
business, like whatever. Just
I talked to my partner like an hour ago, like, yo, do we just sign up for the Hormozy scaling workshop? Like, it's December 31st. We're filming this right now. Like, get that tax write-off.
Yeah, it's so funny. That's such a I saw Dylan do that ad, and then I saw Hormozy do it, and he's like, this is the last day. You can do it for the thing.
I just printed like 10 new leads for our high ticket in the past like 20 minutes before we went on here by just telling everybody, like, if you buy it today, you can write it off in 2025.
Yeah. I'm going to go pull that string. The other thing I wanted to take a little bit of a pivot on is personal brand. You're going to build it. Long form YouTube, you're going to do it. You recently shared a screenshot of how many emails you've sent, which is 1 million.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on that?
So that's not me personally sending, like, that is to our email list.
Sure.
Email's cracked, dude.
I love emails. How big is your list?
On our main company, I prune it pretty often. I want to say we're at like 70,000, but if I go into the archives, we have a lot of people, but obviously if like people stop responding, like, we prune our list for deliverability. So I don't know how big our like master Excel file is, but in terms of like active subs, maybe like 70K.
Is that on Kit?
On Divine? Yeah, Kit.
Yeah, I think some of the things that I'm thinking about in 2026 as well is that, like, and I connected you with Daniel, right? Like, Daniel and I and Dickie and Cole are going to build an email agency from the ground. And I recognize the power of email working with them. And I just, do you know Mike Kaz?
No.
So Mike is a guy who's the top closer at selfpublishing.com. And he was just at our house for like this, you know, Christmas thing, and Harrison invited him over. But I took him, I offered to help him for free and make a bunch of money with just writing emails to his list and doing follow-up, which is the counter position I'm going to take to the rest of the sales space, where it's like everybody talks about objection handling and one call closing. And I'm like, how about sending emails to the people that aren't yet ready to buy, but they will later?
And most people just aren't good with email either. Like, I have some competitors' email lists. I love it. They're so bad.
Yeah.
I've went through 5 different agencies and nobody's touched our metrics. Like, most people just don't understand how to use email. It's a different platform entirely. And a lot of people just want to copy their best tweet and throw it onto an email. And it's just not how, like,
it was so
I don't want to drop too much sauce right now, but like,
yeah,
email is just a different beast and you have to understand it.
I think it's so funny whenever I always have a light bulb moment when I talk to people that aren't in our space at all. And I'm like, you know, I sent an email and made $100,000. And they're like, who checks their email? I'm like, well, you might not check your email because you're getting a bunch of spam from, you know, Zara or like, you know, Shein or whatever. But like, for the things that actually matter, or for something you sign up for that is relevant, you will certainly open your email.
And I think that's like just a strong marker of either intelligence or maturity. Like, and as a business owner, you'll make way more money, is just your ability to acknowledge that different people act differently than you and respond to different things than you do.
Yeah.
And I think that's like the entirety of people who are, from a business perspective, not able to scale past either a single platform or a certain plateau. And maybe from like a business or from a personal development perspective, just your ability to have good relationships with people, be empathetic, et cetera, is like, oh, different people act differently than I do. That's a thing to be aware of. And a lot of people are incapable of that. Yeah. So like from a business perspective, it's like, oh, like I've never like succeeded well with like TikTok because I don't even have a TikTok account.
Right.
Because like I can't even think of like who's scrolling TikTok. A lot of people are scrolling TikTok. Live streaming, like bodying right now. I don't know if I've ever hopped on a live stream in my life.
Speaking of live streaming, that is one of the plays
Yeah.
for 2026. And I've heard a bunch of people mention this. And like,
Yeah.
well, not a bunch, but the people that matter, the people that are ahead of the curve, like live streaming is going to be huge. And
That's one of my businesses brings in an asinine amount of customers through live streaming.
really,
Yeah.
Can you say more?
It's on TikTok.
Does it have anything to do? Well, I don't want to get you in trouble, but does it have anything to do with Pokemon cards?
Maybe slightly adjacent, but it's
Got it.
not like dedicated to Pokemon. And once again, like I run a bunch of communities. Divine's the only one I'm public with because, like I said, we have partners, stuff like that, and all of them. But like one of them is just trouncing everybody because it's just live streaming and people eat it up.
Well, Gary Vee talked about social shopping, being like a huge thing.
Whatnot's blasting off if you're familiar with that. It's like people buying stuff on live streams. eBay Live launched too, where people are just going to sell their stuff live streaming on eBay, and you can like run up the bids there.
Yeah,
I've never logged into any of it. It makes Whatnot. I could just be like making this up. I want to say they're like a $5-7 billion company now. I've never even logged in.
That's insane. And I think like there's a temptation to try to go in every single direction, right?
Yeah.
But if you just pick I think to get to 7 figures for anybody that's maybe not this far ahead or, a couple steps behind, like to get to $1 million in doing anything, it's pretty much one platform, one problem, one person.
Yeah.
And beyond that though, that doesn't work, And so like you said, like pulling different verticals, different platforms, like you have to be privy to that. And back to the email thing, I took this guy under my wing, like before I went to Asia. I told him I was gonna help him for free and like help him write emails and making a couple extra grand a month. And I was like, look, I'll guarantee it. Like I'll make you an extra $4,000 a month on average, and you can just give me an awesome case study ahead of this event that I'm doing. And he just texted me. He's like, hey man, how about I pay you $5,000 so you're actually going to be involved and you actually care about it? And I was like, that sounds great.
Yeah.
And so he paid me $5,000. I wrote him one email. He made $8,000 from that email, and it was just money sitting in his pipeline that became reactivated. And it's like, oh my gosh.
So tangent, I had a tweet, not like go viral, but like got a bunch of mixed reactions because like something I feel pretty strongly about that you'll probably hate and a lot of people hate is I do not pay any revenue generating person retainer flat rate. Like if you're as good as you say you are, I'm going to pay you the fattest commissions in the space. And I'm not give you anything up front. And that's how I operate too with like when I run Discord stuff. If I'm partnering with you on something, I'm going to go through a really labor intensive build out and I'm not going to ask for anything up front, but I'm just getting a percentage of this.
Well, there's 5 ways to charge. It's per, like if you brought this back down to email or writing.
Yeah.
Per word, per hour, per month, per asset, per outcome.
And I only pay per outcome at my business. And I only charge per outcome at my business.
Well, that's
when partnering with you.
Best way to do it.
Yeah.
And that's what I do too. I haven't taken, like outside of this guy paid me $5,000 to do it, like because I gave him my time, like I would have taken a percentage, but he offered me, and so like per outcome is the best way to go. Like I'm strictly rev share on everything I do, performance based only.
So WAP has processed over $2 billion of payments on platform, for those who are familiar with that. My company, Divine, is the number one. We've paid out more people in like affiliate, referral, whatever, than any other product on the entire platform. If anybody
tell me what that means exactly.
So like affiliate marketing is like the term for that. But if somebody wants to create content that is going to drive users to Divine, I will pay.
You mean like paying clippers and like...
No, not clippers, but like whether it's referring their audience or like a friend, it's not using our content. It's
so you don't mean to sign up for WAP.
No, I mean like to join Divine.
To join
and
Divine,
it's not clipping like
referral
stuff from me.
Commissions.
Exactly. It's
okay.
Like, hey, if you want to run a theme page, you want to run like ads, you want to do email marketing, like whatever to your own audience with your own content, we've paid out more than anybody has in the history of
Do you know how much?
Somewhere between 500K and $1 million. I forget exactly what the number is. But I know they keep a leaderboard and we've paid out more than anybody else. And so if somebody's like in my DMs being like, yo, I'm the world's best email marketer, I create the best content, whatever, I'm like, cool, I'll give you 50%. That's an offer I'd make to anybody who's like in this game. I'll give you 50% of everybody you bring in. If you tell me you can generate 100K in revenue, I'll give you 50K of that. I'm not paying you 10K up front though. If you're actually good, let's see.
Yeah, if you want to do it.
Just the amount of people who push back on it, who fight me, they're like, oh, you need to pay me for what my time's worth. I'm like, you asked me for $5,000. If you said you can do 100K, your time should be worth 50. I'll give it to you right now. It's just like, let's you do it. And just the actual follow through.
It scares away.
So low.
Well, I love it. I think it scares away the people that aren't willing to hold themselves accountable.
Yeah.
Like same thing with a job, right? It's like the people that aren't in a performance-based role. And again, this might ruffle some feathers, but like if you're getting paid a salary and there's no upside or downside based on how you perform. Like what you're doing is you're hiding behind that, and it's a function of low accountability.
I don't
And
care how many hours, like I don't track anyone's hours at my team other than like our VAs who have just repeatable, consistent SOP'd out tasks and we need them available at certain times. Everybody else, like I don't care how long you work. I care that you get the job done and I care that you do it well. And if you're able to do that in an hour a day versus 10 hours a day, it doesn't make a difference to me. Like all I care is the impact that it's going to have on the company.
yeah,
Like
like how I,
specifically for a revenue generating role, like as well.
yeah,
Like why would I pay you to write an email? I can write an email. I'll pay you for a better email. And the only way we'll know it's a better email is let's put the link in there and I'm gonna give you a huge cut of how well it does.
and I think like to hammer that home for anybody listening, and they might be a little bit confused, so I'll try to break it down a bit further. Per outcome is the right way, and there's a, what would you say? There's a dichotomy with free work, because if you're a beginner and you want to go work for like Warren Buffett or something, it's like, I'll work for you for free. And it's like, actually that costs too much.
Yeah.
Because you have to invest into the person, right? But I got my first management client and broke into sales management instead of being a sales rep by getting referred over to a business owner that was doing $100K a month. And I was like, oh, I could literally come into your business, pause, and and double you overnight. And he's like, well, let's see it. And he's like, how much do you charge? And I was like, I'll do it for free. We'll have a conversation about a percentage later. And I'm willing to bet on that. And I didn't tell him I'll go work for him for free, but I was like, I don't want anything up front because I don't want to do it for $5,000. And I worked for him for free, quote unquote, for 60 days until he was so blown away. I doubled his business and he's like, dude, I have to pay you.
Yeah.
And then I asked him for as much as possible, and it ended up making me, an extra $300,000 since, last 12 months. And so like, for those who are willing and able to do the work and actually confident in what they're able to drive, like drive me some revenue,
yeah.
I'll give you a much higher price point. And if you're ever pitching your service, pitch that. And they're like, well, what if you do really well? And it's like, well, yeah, I'm going to get the upside. And then they're like, you can pay me up front though instead if you don't want to give me that upside. But like you said, like no one's going to earn your business unless they are willing to go for that.
Yeah, not in a revenue generating role. And yeah, dude, one of the best pieces of advice that I got wasn't even advice given to me. It was me watching a podcast from Andrew Schultz. And he was like, I will work for free. I'll work for full price. I won't work for cheap. And so I think a lot of people will even like try to hire me for like Discord stuff for a certain amount. It's like, I'll hop on a call with you for free. I'm not going to do it for like $80 an hour though. Like
it's free.
Like, you are going to pay me the right amount, or like I'm happy to do it for free.
Yeah.
But if you work for cheap, you're just immediately devaluing yourself, because if you do it for free, people know that you did them a favor. If you do it for cheap, they'll feel like, oh
yeah,
cool,
and
we get an even
reciprocity.
exchange.
Mm-hmm. And reciprocity is one of the strongest human like behavior drivers, right? Like Daniel, who I introduced you to, he basically is free or premium. That's it. It's either charity or Ferrari. Like there's no in between. So let me ask you this to kind of wrap things up here. First of all, this has been a lot of fun. We went in a bunch of different directions, but like, I asked Dickie a question to kind of wrap things up, and then he helped me reframe it, which is, I asked him like, what would you tell your future self a year from now? But he said, what is future you telling current you? And I thought that was a much better question. So like, you've probably learned a lot this year about a bunch of different things. You've had a lot of experiences, and I know what's coming up for you in a few different areas of personal and business. So I'm really excited to see that unfold. But what would 2027 Casey that has dominated more, achieved more, and developed spiritually, mentally, physically, emotionally, financially, relationship, etc., what is he reminding you of right now going into the new year?
I think like 3 things are like focus more, which is just eliminate all of the stuff that doesn't add. I think that's not always easy. And that's part of the reason that I actually moved out. Like you moved to Austin stuff is because I just felt like I needed more control over the environment that I had so that I could get to the next level. I think believe more. We just have those little unlocks that are like, cool, I can now play at a 10K a month level, 20K a month level, 50, 100, whatever. And I'm not big on mindset at all. I think I'm just like a do the work sort of person, but there are just certain things that's like, all right, this actually expands my belief of what I'm able to achieve. And then I think the other one too is just like zoom out sometimes. I think like I'm really in the day-to-day of my business. Sometimes when I zoom out, I'm like, this is going well and life's good. And at the end of the day, like I'm going to get 76 years on average. And like my favorite book of the Bible is Ecclesiastes. And it's just cool. Live a good life, enjoy the people I'm with, serve God. And ultimately that's what matters.
Dude, What an absolute pleasure. I love you, bro. I appreciate you. Super glad we did this. It's first of many. We'll look back at this one next year and see how far we come. But it's been an absolute pleasure. And let's go get ready for this New Year's party.
Let's do it, baby.
That's the pod.